Columbo has solved the case. He knows who did it, he knows how, he has the evidence, and he walks away. No arrest, no handcuffs, no closing music over a killer being led to a squad car. In 69 episodes across 4 decades of television, this almost never happens. But in Forgotten Lady, it does. And the reason it does tells you something about Columbo that none of his famous gotcha moments ever could. The question fans have argued about for 50 years is whether Grace Wheeler beat Columbo. She killed her husband, she was never arrested, and she was still free when the credits rolled. By the simplest scoreboard, that is a win. But the simplest scoreboard misses what actually happened in that final scene, and what it cost both of them to get there. Grace Wheeler is an aging actress. She was famous once, a star of film musicals in the 1940s and 50s, the kind of performer whose name used to mean something on a marquee. By the time we meet her, that career is over, and the distance between who she was and who she is now fills every room she walks into. Her husband, Carl Lessing, is wealthy and practical, and he has made it clear that he will not finance her comeback. The money exists. The willingness does not. Carl sees the comeback for what it is, a fantasy built on a reputation that faded 20 years ago, and he will not help her chase it. What makes Grace different from nearly every other Columbo killer is that she is not protecting a secret or consolidating power. She is chasing something she has already lost. The comeback she is planning is not a realistic career move. It is a desperate attempt to return to the version of herself that mattered. Watch how Janet Leigh plays her in the scenes before the murder. Grace does not scheme, she dreams. She talks about the stage the way a person talks about a home they were forced to leave. The murder is not cold-blooded in the traditional sense. It is the act of someone who believes that one obstacle stands between her and the life she was supposed to be living. Remove the obstacle, and everything goes back to the way it was. That belief is delusional, and the episode knows it, and the audience knows it, and the only person who does not know it is Grace. She shoots Carl and stages the scene to look like an interrupted burglary. Her friend Ned Diamond, played by John Payne, helps her cover it. Ned is not a co-conspirator in the usual sense. He is a man who has loved Grace Wheeler for decades, who danced with her when she was at her peak, and who cannot bring himself to let her fall. He does not help because he benefits. He helps because refusing would mean watching her destroy herself alone. There is something in the way the episode presents their relationship that tells you Ned already knows the comeback will never happen. He is not protecting a plan, he is protecting a person. Columbo arrives and does what Columbo always does. He notices the small things that do not fit. The timeline has problems. The staging is slightly wrong. Grace's behavior after the murder carries the wrong kind of grief, too composed in some moments, too scattered in others, in ways that do not match the shock of discovering a dead husband. Columbo begins building his case the way he builds every case, one uncomfortable question at a time, delivered with an apology and a raincoat and the kind of politeness that makes you forget you are being investigated.
Start the film, Raymond.
Very good, madame.
But something is different about this investigation, and the difference is Grace herself. She is charming, she is warm, she treats Columbo with genuine affection, not the polished condescension of a socialite tolerating a civil servant, but the open friendliness of someone who likes people and does not see a reason to stop liking them just because one of them is a detective. Columbo responds to this. You can see it in the way he talks to her, the way he lingers in her home, the way his questions carry a gentleness that goes beyond the usual performance. And then the story turns, not because Columbo cracks the case, he was always going to crack the case. The story turns because Dr. Willis tells Columbo something that changes the meaning of everything that has happened. Grace Wheeler has a degenerative brain condition. Her memory is deteriorating. The confusion Columbo noticed, the scattered moments, the uneven composure, those were not the behavior of a guilty woman struggling to maintain a cover story. They were symptoms. Grace Wheeler is losing her mind, and the process is not reversible and not slow.
She was sitting here watching the film, and the film...
If you are finding this kind of analysis valuable, subscribing helps the channel continue producing these deep dives into classic television. This is the moment that separates Forgotten Lady from every other Columbo episode. In a standard episode, the revelation at the end is about the killer. The last piece of evidence falls into place, the trap closes, and the audience watches the killer realize it is over. In Forgotten Lady, the revelation at the end is about the detective. Columbo has solved the case. He can prove it, and the proof does not matter, because the woman he would be arresting will not remember what she did.
Knows how to work the splicer. You see, actually, this is a very simple procedure.
Think about what that means for a detective whose entire method depends on persistence. Columbo wins by outlasting people. He keeps asking questions until the answers contradict each other. He keeps showing up until the killer's composure cracks. He keeps being present, keeps being patient, keeps applying the quiet pressure of a man who will not stop until the truth is visible. His weapon is time. He uses it better than anyone. And Grace Wheeler's disease takes time away from both of them. She does not have enough of it left for his method to mean anything. An arrest leads to a trial, and a trial requires a defendant who understands the charges and can participate in her own defense. Grace Wheeler is moving past that threshold. The legal system needs time to function, and her condition has already started taking it.
Back there, it takes 4 minutes to fix it, and then she stands on her head for 11 minutes. All 4. The film...
So, Columbo walks away, and the question is what that walk means. The popular reading is that Grace won. She committed murder and faced no consequences, and that makes her one of the only killers in the series to escape justice. But this reading treats the outcome as a contest, as if the purpose of every episode is a scoreboard, and anyone who avoids arrest has beaten the game. That framing misses what the episode is actually doing. Grace Wheeler did not beat Columbo. She did not outsmart him. She did not destroy evidence or build an unbreakable alibi or manipulate him into looking the wrong direction. Columbo solved the case. He knows everything. If the circumstances were different, if Grace were healthy, there is no version of this episode where she goes free. The case is closed in every way except the one that matters to a courtroom. What happened is something worse than losing. Grace Wheeler took the meaning out of Columbo's victory by being someone for whom punishment no longer has a purpose. The arrest is not a defeat for Columbo, it is an irrelevance. And Columbo, who has spent his career in a world where catching the killer is the point, has to confront a situation where catching the killer accomplishes nothing.
She takes 4 minutes to fix it, and that adds up to 15 minutes that the film is not.
Watch the final scene carefully. Columbo does not look relieved. He does not look satisfied with a merciful decision. He looks like a man who has just discovered a wall he cannot push through. His entire professional identity is built on the idea that the truth matters enough to pursue relentlessly. Forgotten Lady asks him what happens when the truth still matters, but pursuing it has no effect on anything. Ned Diamond is the other half of this equation, and the episode would not work without him. Ned knows what Grace did. He helped her cover it, and he also knows what is happening to her mind. His decision to protect Grace is not about getting away with murder. It is about giving someone he loves whatever time she has left without spending it in a courtroom. Ned is not a villain. He is a man standing between a dying woman and a system that can no longer help her. When Columbo looks at Ned in the final scene, he is looking at someone who made the same calculation he is making, and arrived at the same answer.
I went looking in Dr. Willis's files to see what I could find out about his health. I found this. Under the name.
Compare this to the handful of other Columbo episodes where the ending is less than clean. In Rest in Peace, Mrs. Columbo, the killer targets Columbo's own wife, and the episode ends with an arrest, but one that feels personal rather than professional. In Try and Catch Me, Columbo arrests Abigail Mitchell for murdering the man who killed her niece, and the weight of that arrest is visible on his face. But in both of those cases, Columbo does his job. He catches the killer, and the system takes over. Forgotten Lady is the only episode where the system itself becomes the thing that fails, because the system requires a defendant capable of standing trial, and Grace Wheeler is losing that capacity while Columbo watches. The reason this episode stays with people is not that a killer escaped. Killers escape on other shows all the time, and those episodes are forgotten by the next commercial break. This episode stays because it forces Columbo to be something he is never required to be in any other case: human, not clever, not persistent, not the man with the perfect trap, just a person standing in front of a terrible situation and deciding that the right thing to do is nothing. That is not a defeat, and it is not a victory for Grace Wheeler. It is the one outcome Columbo's method was never designed to reach. He built his career solving murders because solving them matters. Forgotten Lady is the episode that asks what happens when it does not. And the answer, the real answer that the episode gives, is that Columbo is a good enough man to know the difference. Did Grace Wheeler beat Columbo? No, she just made winning impossible. And the fact that he recognized it, that he did not push through anyway out of habit or ego or professional obligation, that is not a flaw in the detective. It might be the most revealing thing the series ever showed us about who he is.
How long has she got?
A week.
Which Columbo episode do you think reveals the most about who he really is when the case is over? Tell me in the comments. And if this kind of character psychology is what you come to this channel for, subscribing is how you make sure the next one reaches you.